Wait. So sorry, I forgot to light my candle. How anticlimactic. Hi, hello, and welcome to Threadings, the newsletter and podcast where I explore the seams on this world and where I fit into those seams. This is the first iteration of Threadings that is a video essay, and I do think that that is rather fitting considering how mad and how invested this topic makes me. I'm going to be filled with emotion. Do let the record show, though, that I never ever wanted to become a video essayist, okay? But you all witnessing me, you change me all the time, whether I am ready to change or not. Grab your tea. I have a rooibos here that's cold now with dried fruit and florals. I do live an amazing life. I'm here to answer a question from a member of our constituency because I see myself far more like an algorithmically elected leader than I do like a content creator. I am an artist. We will get into that. But the question was this. I'm not going to read it verbatim because the grammar and syntax don't lend itself well to me reading it through. But the question is essentially, what do you do with an artist who might start out radical while they're small, but then gets institutional acclaim over time? Where do you draw that line between performative action and radical action? How do you manage that? I think this is a brilliant question. Specifically, this question about, does the artist lose their ability to be radical once they hit a certain amount of money or success or etc.? No, of course they don't. They don't lose the ability. Every artist has the ability to be radical at any point in time. It's never a question of ability, is it? It's a question of willingness. And the question here is asking about me as a consumer, but I think the far more interesting question to answer is me as an artist. Because primarily, for me in this space, for the way that you all engage with me, you engage with my artistry. You don't engage with me as a consumer. Hi, now we're here. A brief introduction. My name is Ismatu. I am a very specific person in a very particular circumstance. Two things: I am not a cultural critic and a stand-in for the general public. I am not performing a persuasive piece for you here. I am not here because I want to change your mind. I am here because I am a young revolutionary and I am an artist. And you and I are in a particular rhythm here where you trust me with your mind for some small and invaluable loop of time. And I do my best to be useful to you with that trust. With that time, I'm here to talk to you about art making, contemporary art making. And over the course of this essay, I will explain to you how I have made myself into a class trader, and then we will renegotiate our social contract. We're going to talk about the context of this video, the buy muffins phenomenon, and the necessity of precarity after we define some terms. One of the guiding resources that I have used to construct these arguments is called 20 Enemies by James Forman. Forman's revolutionary CV is longer than my forearm, quite frankly. He was, just to name a few, right, the executive secretary of SNCC. He was the Minister of Foreign Affairs in the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. He had multiple positions across and within the Black Economic Development Conference, the League of Revolutionary Black Workers, and the Black Workers Congress, some organizations that I didn't even know existed. I find the pamphlet that he wrote to be immensely valuable as a young person with revolutionary goals, particularly in how helpful it is in defining what revolution is. There's a few terms that I'm going to be using throughout the essay which have very wishy-washy colloquial meanings because of how widely they're used. We kind of throw them around at anything that feels mildly deviant. Those specific political terms are revolutionary and liberal. Radical is also one that I'll define here, but I will define it outside the text because Forman does not explicitly state what a radical or what radical action is, though I don't think he would disagree with the definitions that I've pulled. So first, radical, in its political use, means to depart significantly from the systems we have in place. It means that you have the intent to transform or replace fundamental elements in society, and you position yourself to do so. Imagine like a radical electron that is sitting on the outskirts of an element, right? And it has the capacity to bind to something else which fundamentally changes the structure that of the element that it once belonged to, okay? You can tell pretty easily if something is truly radical because it will meet significant institutional pushback. The systems that we have in place are ingrained because of our mass participation. The systems that we have are so ubiquitous because everyone participates all the time. So when someone refuses to participate and they are actively creating a new thing, a new system, that is an open threat to the systems that we have ingrained in society, okay? It is met with pushback. Then from the text, you have the terms revolutionary, and you have the term liberal or liberalism. Revolutionary action seeks and works towards seizing power of the state. Revolutionary action works to seize power from the state. That's page 1, sentence 1. I'm gonna read it. Individuals belonging to revolutionary organizations that are seeking and working towards the seizure of state power must not only study theory and practice of other revolutionaries, but must carefully study our own experiences and draw conclusions from those experiences that will help others. Whenever I say something that makes people uncomfortable or irritated or whatever, I mean sticky, prickly emotion that has come up with them watching a video of mine, and it's video specifically. People who are otherwise unfamiliar with my work ask me why I made the video. And there's always someone that says something to the extent of, oh, they made it for likes or engagement or views, they're a content creator. Respectfully, I do not monetize my videos. My primary mode here in this internet land space is not content creator, okay? I'm an artist and I'm a revolutionary. I don't monetize my videos. I don't spend time on social media for fun. I'm here for the work of the masses. If we're talking about a people's revolution, right, a popular uprising, then we are talking about seizure of state power for the good of the collective mass. And if we are talking about that, that means that we need to teach each other how to do so in real time, because we are building the system that we're working towards at once, right? You are both building the world that you are pulling forth at the same time. That means that you have to study the revolutionary experiences of others and record the revolutionary experiences that you are having for yourself. And you need to make those available in whatever way is safe. That's what I'm doing here. That's whatever video you're watching, I promise you that's why I made it. Liberalism is defined by Foreman as the refusal to engage in principled ideological struggle inside and outside of a revolutionary organization. That's from the pamphlet, page 13. Remember, this pamphlet is free online. You can get it easily, but I'll link it in the show notes. Foreman argues that liberalism must be eradicated. I'm going to run that back. Must be eradicated if we are to create a successful revolutionary organization and greater revolutionary society. Liberalism is inherently destructive, because it may posture, it may give lip service, it may put on the aesthetics of or give credence to radical revolutionary ideas, but there's no spine on it. There's no backbone there. There is no follow through to seize state power. Oftentimes, the desire to overturn state power and redistribute it, to flip our relationship with property, as George Jackson states that a revolution must do. You have to subvert the relationship that we have to property right now, redistribution on a mass scale. Oftentimes the desire to overturn and redistribute that power is not present at all, because liberals benefit materially from the systems that we have in place. They don't have a desire to deviate from them, even if they benefit from pretending like they could. Remember the specific definition of these words as we move through the rest of these thoughts. All right, some scene setting. The stage is set for war on United States soil. It's not funny. War making happens in policy long before there's ever any live ammunition. I'm witnessing an open coup from one of my homes while I gaze across the Atlantic Ocean in another. It feels eerily reminiscent of watching the world talk about Sierra Leone's civil war, or rather better said, the war of attrition that was waged on a recently independent Sierra Leone to take control of its diamonds. The political circumstance is certainly not copy-paste, but once you begin to see the pendulum swing of mass uprisings and a desire for political control in the hands of the masses, swinging to an internally hostile government, once you begin to see the parallels of what it looks like when there is significant state pushback from a desire to deviate from the systems we have in place, from actions that are radical, however small. Once you see those parallels, you really can't unsee them. Anyways, war making never begins with guns. It begins with policy, and it begins with culture. 4 central elements to the struggle to build a revolutionary society, as emphasized by James Foreman, right? Politics, culture, economics, and militia. That's from page 13. 4 central things that you work on to build a revolution, and then to build a revolutionary society that happens on top of that, because the revolution is the start of something as much as it is the ending of something. Culture, politics, economics, militia. We have a coup taking place from a foreign billionaire, a United States government that has many tentacles that are being stretched across the world. We might be growing a bit weary, okay? And the soft power of the US is still quite strong, especially with their use of the Black music megastar. That last bit, right? That Black music megastar, that's the cultural context in which I come to you from. It is currently February of 2025, and that will not always feel obvious. The militaristic powers of the United States stretched tentacle-wise. We're supporting the war in Ukraine, the apartheid regime in Israel. We're getting embarrassed by the Houthis in the Red Sea. We have a lot going on. I actually began this essay in the summer of 2023 when I was watching campaigning for the Harris administration backed by Black megastars and feeling bile grow in the back of my throat. The conversations that we have online tend to be cyclical because we have no real political teeth with which to chew and swallow our food. We move like cattle chomping cud. Are these people making propaganda? Are our Black megastars championing the US empire? Yes. What? Of course they are. Their excellence within their craft, nor their very authentic Blackness, does not erase their liberalism. In fact, it makes their liberalism even more insidious. And remember what liberal means, that there is no backbone, there is no spine behind the rhetoric. However revolutionary or rah-rah or radical the rhetoric claims to be, the backbone does not back it up. We're reintroducing this buy muffin syndrome, okay? I explained this in the short form, but I think that it went over a few people's heads. I really always felt the communicator for that, so I'm going to do my best to be clear this time when I have the space. I claimed that in my high school, my speech and debate team utilized this advertisement on our scrolling school announcements to sell muffins for our tournament fees. It had a swirling hypnotic wheel, right? That pinwheel that's designed to hypnotize you. And in red, it blinked at you, buy muffins, buy muffins, buy muffins. I was a first year student in high school, right? I was 14 years old, and I was very confused about how the advertisement would be effective because it didn't say where to buy muffins or when to buy muffins or how much the muffins were cost or who was selling them or for what reason. I wasn't actually sure that it was going to yield the results that we wanted it to yield. I learned a very valuable lesson about marketing from being dead wrong about how effective that advertisement was. It was so effective that we raised more than what we needed initially for our tournament. None of the pesky purchasing details actually ended up mattering. What sold the muffins was the amount of conversation dedicated to the advertisements as a whole. The upperclassmen thought it was hilarious watching the younger grades squint up at the screen trying to make sense of the swirling GIF. Many of them were reading George Orwell's 1984 in class. Everyone thought it was so funny how tongue-in-cheek it was, right? Because the advertisement is openly trying to hypnotize you. Buy muffins, buy muffins, buy muffins. And they laughed at how they weren't going to get got and how silly it was watching the younger grades look up and kind of miss the point of the joke. Do you know what the upperclassmen did? They bought a fuck ton of muffins. In stating that I don't engage with the art of millionaire-billionaire artists, I compared their art to this buy muffin advertisement because it's often political in nature, right? Or actually, I would argue that there is no such thing as apolitical art. All art is political. It is designed to spark conversation. There is no part of my life that benefits from letting liberal capitalist art makers inject their worldviews into mine. Liberalism is a mold. It is a fungus upon revolutionary desires and operations. Once again, I, Ismatu, I am not a disembodied voice in pen. I am speaking to other people who want to, at least, or are in some ways deviating from the systems that we have in place, engaging in radical acts. I'm speaking to people who wish to learn more about revolutionary action as it is previously manifested and how we might apply that to our current circumstances. This pamphlet that I'm referencing was published in 1970. Every word is still relevant today. I, Ismatu, right? Also a clinical trained therapist, or rather I gave up the clinical work because I didn't want to sign licensure because that would make me an agent of the state. But I was trained formally in a master's of social work program at the University of Chicago. Then I went on to get my certifications in somatics and hypnotherapy. Every modality that I have ever worked with has stressed the importance of repetition. Even modalities that literally just teach you how to learn better or how to study or how to make sure that things come into your working memory, how to make sure that your mind integrates important information, repetition, repetition, repetition. So when we talk about these liberal art pieces from the millionaire billionaire class, whose class interests do not align with our class interests as the global working class, when we talk about their art, when we proliferate their art, when we watch it and then watch it again in short clips on social media, and we talk endlessly about what it could mean and whether it was right or wrong or whatever, right? You are telling your brain over and over and over and over and over again that this is important. And in the age of algorithms, in the age of streaming services and social media, your attention literally creates capital for these people. Not just fiscal capital, right? Social capital, relevancy, world-making capital. The reason that their art is important is because we say over and over and over and over and over again that it is. There's a reason that I haven't named a particular artist or, put their pictures up as examples or what have you. It's because this video is not actually about those artists. It's about you and me and what I owe to you. Me as I come into increasing positions of power, and about what I owe to the masses, we, us, who I love so much. I don't listen to millionaire, billionaire art, and I don't watch their media, and I don't engage. I see no reason to, and I have no desire to, and I did not stop this out of principle or because I wanted to make a statement or because I felt like I should. I stopped because I actually can tell you exactly when I stopped. It was the summer of 2022, and I was out of every iteration of sanity that I have ever had, every grain of sanity that I had ever had in my mind was gone. Leaked out of my ears. Okay. The monkeypox epidemic in the United States was growing exponentially. There was a national emergency declared with no accompanying national plan. I was at particular risk because I was a sex worker. I was quarantining, and everyone told me that I was crazy for feeling like this was an emergency and for moving like this was an emergency. It was the summer that Renaissance came out. It's a brilliant album. The art is excellent. The art is beautiful. And I enjoyed the excellent, beautiful art twice. And by the second time, it literally made my brain hurt because of the amount of cognitive dissonance that I had listening to something that encouraged me towards an escapism that I didn't find very comforting anymore. The art is excellent. I'm not here to debate whether the art is good or not good. It's excellent. It's phenomenal. That's one of the reasons why the person that made that art or the people that make these sorts of art that dominate conversation, the reason that it goes like that they have world-making power within their industries and also the ability to shape our minds is because they're excellent at their craft. That's not what I'm here to debate, or I'm really not debating at all. This isn't a persuasive essay. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm saying that in that particular loop of time, I had reached a point in time where escapism from the life that I was living was no longer a comfort for me. Where the only thing that I found comforting or exciting or peaceful was art that allowed me to imagine a world that we made, rather than art that allowed me to imagine a world where I blew all my money flying to Turks and Caicos or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And I found it even more disconcerting that a millionaire billionaire was making art about blowing all your money, escaping from the life that was directly in front of you. It created so much cognitive dissonance in my mind that it was almost painful. I couldn't enjoy it anymore. That's when I stopped. I stopped because I was radicalizing truly and permanently in my precious mental space and engaging with millionaire, billionaire, Black megastars who continually put on or posture next to radical aesthetics as a literal costume, yet move economically and politically as liberals, right? Those are those two of the big four. Culturally, economically, politically, and militaristically. It's actually three of the big four. Culturally, economically, politically. They move as liberals, yet they dress as radicals. They move like that as people whose only desired change within the systems is to see a few more Black billionaires. The original question was, where is the line for you? What happens if you follow an artist and they make it big? Can they still be radical? Can they still be revolutionary? Of course they can. They possess the ability to. If this essay is not about these artists, why are we discussing them? Because in discussing them, I discuss us, you and I. I can take a pulse on our greater culture by understanding how much liberalism we celebrate, and if not celebrate, tolerate. How many of us will still leap to defend the class that oppresses us actively today because we still wish one day to become them? We still look at them garnering individual fortunes for themselves and their family and their businesses and take it as a collective win when that doesn't build systems for us within the Black masses. How even if we don't want to defend them, Many of us still associate freedom and peace with US dollar bills instead of associating freedom and peace with a day where US dollar bills don't exist at all. That's why I care. I'm talking about us. And I want us to stop settling for the cosplay of revolution. But I think, in fact, I know that we do, because we still find comfort in that excellent escapism, or the idea that we can buy revolution, or the performance of it. So I have two tasks. One, as a revolutionary, my job is to make sure that we are well equipped to believe that revolution is not just possible, okay? Not just could happen, but in fact, probable. That we, in February of 2025, are living through another wave of worldwide uprisings. Don't we remember the last largest strike in history, right? The farmers in India that literally brought their country to a halt. It was 500,000 people. Did you know that they're protesting again today? Did you know that? Did you see the popular uprising that took place in Bangladesh? That was July. It was just 8 months ago. Did you know their interim government was installed, that they continued to move forward? Did you know? Did you see that Khartoum was taken back from the RSF in Sudan? That the Sudanese popular uprising is what got them into this war that was only in 2019? That they won their country. And inshallah, they will win it again. These are the events that soak me in hope. These are the events that turn me towards the music of Rita Nata, of Le Grand Calais and Miriam Makeba and Sun Ra. I've gone from finding comfort in escapism via US dollars to finding comfort in knowing what is fully and fundamentally achievable within our lifetimes. As a revolutionary, it's my job to teach us how to want to seek comfort in a world that we make rather than this world that we can see. How to look past what is directly in front of us. And as an artist, remember I said I had two tasks. As an artist, it is my job to tell useful truths. Everyone always misquotes Toni Cade Bambara. They say the role of the artist is to make revolution irresistible. And that's not what she said. She said was, as a culture worker who belongs to an oppressed people, my job is to make revolution irresistible. As an artist, my job is to make art so excellent and so expansive and truly loving. Art is a love song to the way that I feel about us, we, the masses, that you want to begin looking for and making with your hands something that you can't see yet. Toni Cade Bambara did not say every artist has the job of making revolution. She says, as a culture worker who belongs to an oppressed people. She said, as a culture worker who knows where home is. My job is to make revolution irresistible. She also said this in an interview with Claudia Tate in 1983. I start with the recognition that we are at war. And that war is not simply a hot debate between the capitalist camp and the socialist camp on which economic, political, and social arrangement will have hegemony in the world. It's not just a battle over turf and who has the right to utilize resources for whomever's benefit. The war is also being fought over the truth. What is the truth about human nature, about the human potential? My responsibility to myself and my neighbors, my family, and the human family is to try to tell the truth, and that ain't easy. There are so few truth-speaking traditions in this society in which the myth of the Western civilization has claimed the allegiance of so many. We have rarely been encouraged and equipped to appreciate the fact that the truth works, that it releases spirit, and that it is a joyous thing. 1983, she said that. As an artist, my job is to make art so excellent and so expansive and truly loving. Art is a love song to the way that I feel about us, we the masses, that you want to begin looking for and making with your hands a world that you can't see yet. We have an interlude called Thomas Sankara, Amilcar Cabral, Rashid Mahdi, and Nina Simone all walk into a bar. It goes like this. I believe revolutionaries get a dive bar in their shared heaven. I believe they all have the wars on like sports games, cheering and sighing and groaning at the pulls and pushes of liberatory armed struggle, death having now been made this peaceful, laughing thing. I imagine their combination would be a chance encounter. Sankara and Cabral sitting at a booth enjoying a stout, discussing their their pickup football matches. And Nina Simone walks in with Lorraine and Billy, and they haven't seen each other in a long time. And they're all giggling over a long cigarette. You are allowed cigarettes in heaven, but only once per week. And Rashid is somewhere in the corner thinking himself inconspicuous, snapping film through the twilight, smoky haze. In heaven, the sun is always just setting at this bar, and death isn't so bad now that everybody laughs and smokes and drinks. These are the people that teach me that art is a weapon, that I must betray the ideals of the petit bourgeois and join them in the sharpening of the spear. I want to laugh at death like that. And I want to believe that they read the essays that I write in 2 years' time and go, this is something worth discussing over a beer at the bar. A class traitor is an individual who betrays the ideals of the socioeconomic class that they belong to. Thomas Sankara talks about class traitors in his political orientation speech of 1983. If you have been on my Patreon is free, and the lives, you have seen me talk over and over and over again about class traitorship within this political orientation speech from 1983, when the August Revolution was a success, when he went from being imprisoned to being president. Okay, when he addressed his newly liberated people over the radio, he broke down the aspects of the voltaic society. The revolution was so new that they weren't even called Burkina Faso yet. Who their people were, their masses versus who the enemies of the revolution were, right? And members of the petit bourgeois, they were on the fence. He argued that some of these trained members of society could be convinced to come over to the revolutionary side, to the side of liberation, because they feared the empire's hand as much as it fed them. Sankara argues that the revolution will not be won by class traitors by any means. Revolutions are always won with a popular uprising, right? And they're not the majority. However, they are a necessary part of revolution because they have the tool set that is going to be super helpful to the people as we are building a new thing. He himself was a military school graduate turned general, and general turned prime minister. He betrayed his class to side with the people, to then become the first president of Burkina Faso. Amilcar Cabral does the same thing 20 years before. He goes to school in Portugal. He's from Portuguese Guinea at the time. And he actually doesn't miss an opportunity to roast them and call them broke and illiterate. It's very funny. He was one of 12 that actually graduated with a concentrated study in agronomy. And then he spent years covertly building his political base while also using the skills that he learned in pencil pushing school to be able to build up systems where his people own not just their means of production, but their means of ideation of what their production should be. He argues that if you own not just the means of production, but your means to ideate what that production is, you are able to write your own history. And until that happens, someone is writing your history for you. I hope he cheered on his country's victory over a beer on the other side. Rashid Mohdi. His photography helped to usher in the Sudanese uprisings of the 1960s, simply by capturing what was relevant to Sudanese people at the time. His lens is often referred to as the golden age of Sudanese photography, where he captured at his studio everything from family portraits and birthday celebrations to demonstrations out on the street. As I argue in the essay, the role of the artist is to load the gun, with help from Dr. Bador Alagra. Plainly, revolutionary art precedes revolutionary action because it helps us understand what is possible and achievable and aspirational. And the Sudanese people of the 1960s reacted so strongly to seeing them archived because it told them that they are worth archiving in the first place, worth paying attention to. And Nina, I have such a love for such a complex character. I already wrote an essay on her, who traded her good and proper stardom to sing protest song after protest song exclusively. Mississippi Goddamn was just the start. But this is an essay about us. It's about me, right? What is the line and the threshold for me personally? At what point in time does an artist who has academic, institutional, lauded success, who has access to social, fiscal capital, at what point do they lose their ability to re-radical? Never. They never lose the ability. It's about willingness, right? I think that radicalization is the point in time not in which you begin to think different things, but the point in time in which you are willing to do different things. So where's the line? Now that you know that your masses can see you and they love you enough to invest their time and attention and their ideas and dollars and conversation and their trust in you, what do you do with that love? What do you do with that trust? Where do you stake and invest that trust? Is it through the building of personal systems so that you can create comfort for yourself individually? Or do you find a way to subvert those systems? Remember, revolutionary act is one that seizes power from the state. And radical acts are ones that deviate from the systems that we currently have in place. So I need to renegotiate the Eastmont to Gwendolyn social contract. You all have given me a stage and that has provided me with capital. You all give me your very precious resources, right? Your time, your attention, your engagement, and for some of you, your dollars. And it has set me on what could be the route of a very traditional celebrity. The route of the traditional celebrity is to press on every bit of monetization that is available to me. I'm supposed to sell you things. I'm supposed to walk in advertisements. I'm supposed to ensure that you buy my art. Make sure that it is all behind a paywall so that you buy it for money. I'm supposed to garner as many streams of income as I conceivably can to offset the precariousness that comes with being hyper visible or highly visible, because it's not safe. It's straight up not safe. So I'm supposed to use you all as a site of endless extraction to be able to create for myself private systems and private comfort, okay? That's the route of a traditional celebrity, to press every button of monetization as I possibly can. And the route that I have chosen creates precarity for me as I resist the illusion of safety that comes with privatization. But also the route that I'm taking creates farms in Sierra Leone. And that is so dope. It creates a new mode of being in public, or revitalize at least expectations in our public figures, because it should be okay to expect things of our public figures. This is something that I see all the time. Well, why do you need our public figures to be revolutionary? Why should we expect anything from our artists? Because they expect things from us. They expect us to uphold them and to applaud them and to give them our very, very, very precious time. So why don't we get anything on our end of the contract? Why is it foolish or idealistic to be able to expect things from the people that are representing us on the world stage? Do I not owe it to everybody involved in the Eastmont to Gwendolyn experiment to push the envelope, to try out a new form, or rather actually to return to an older form of public existence? So I'm doing something odd. I've written a book. You all have really wanted me to write a book and to publish it as a means of supporting me. And that is very sweet. That means a lot. Instead of doing that, I'm going to take all the money that this book provides and literally give it all away. So this book that I've written, it's very good. And I was approached by agents and traditional publishers to be able to do it in the normal way. But the problem with the normal way, two things. One, it would require me to sell my intellectual property, which means that I don't really get to control what happens to most of the money that the book makes. And it also means that I am relegated to the celebrity activist, right? Where I say radical things, but I'm kind of pigeonholed in this circumstance where I don't get to do radical things because I don't own the work. And furthermore, I don't really believe that information can be owned. I know that I talk about information anarchy, the case against sponsorships, a lot, but it's really one of the best essays that I've ever written. And the process of writing it radicalized me, and the process of returning to it radicalized me. I kid you not. I'm choosing to self-publish Small Prophecies because I want to make sure that I retain as much money as conceivably possible over the art. And all of that money is going to building out that universal basic income project in Sierra Leone that I've been talking about. I want to make sure that the subjects of the book benefit from the book itself, which I think that should be the standard in the industry. In undergrad, when I originally did this research, I didn't publish it under my undergraduate or my graduate institution, because that would mean that the institution itself gets money and I get praise, and the people that the research is about get nothing. And that is not satisfying to me. Support is not just intellectual, and it's not just about visibility, even though those things are important. Support is material. And so meaningful material support creates systems. So a universal basic income program that is crowdfunded can create a system for 3 years. But a universal basic income program that is funded by royalties can create a system for a really long time. Should that money exceed $400,000 in a slush fund after onboarding all of the Ebola survivors that are registered in SLAs in the country, which is maybe a lofty task, but I don't know, I got big dreams. God regularly be answering me. Should we exceed that goal, that money will go towards more farming endeavors in Sierra Leone because I dream of fruit trees. God, I want to see fruit. We got a lot of mangoes. We have a lot of fruit, but I want to see strawberries. I love strawberries and I miss them. I want to see dragon fruit. I want to see, what's that fruit that's like white on the inside? Almost looks like a cloud and it's got black seeds. I'm gonna find it, but I want it all. I want big things for this place. It's gonna come out in audio first, because if I've learned anything from writing on the internet, it's that people have an automatic stress response to being invited to read something. And that's okay, I don't fault you for that. In fact, I have an essay called You've Been Traumatized into Hating Reading, and it is making you easy to oppress, where I talk about how the empires that we live in systematically traumatize us away from reading. They burn our hands away from books to make sure that you don't get to engage with that. Whether I think that is right or wrong, or productive or not productive, that we don't know how to read, we don't know how to read. So I'll read it to you. This is kind of wild. I certainly have never seen anyone do this before, at least not in my lifetime. Usually by the time an artist donates the entire proceeds of a particular work to a particular cause, it's A, on the charity model, and B, when they're already like multimillionaires. And I am not that. However, I think that I have the opportunity to create some new blueprints for us here, to raise our collective standards for what we can expect from our artists and from the people that claim to be revolutionary. You gotta act like it, right? Revolution seizes power from the state, and radical action deviates from the systems that we have in place. So if I say it, you know what I mean? Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. I didn't know that it was possible to love the world this much. And at this point, I don't know that I feel scared anymore. I spent the last year being so afraid of moving forward and of the things that I wanted, and how impossible everything felt and how sad I was. There's nothing that makes like corporal reality real like life and death. Man, I'm so fucking sad about it. But I'm so grateful to God to have put me in this position. I see now. I just pray for protection and peace. I hope the work of your day passes through your hands with ease.